This is part 78 of my series on my Engage Model Railway project. Previous parts covered the project from its inception through the creation of the baseboard, selection and laying of track, building of scenic items, obtaining rolling stock, etc. The project is ongoing. This part deals with some additional Stanier LMS coaches that I received this week. There's also another chance to see some running of the LMS Jubilee Trafalgar, which I fitted with new nameplates in my previous video. These three coaches actually came to me from France. A seller in France posted them as a lot on eBay UK, listed as new. They weren't exactly cheap, but given the standard retail price for these current Farish coaches, they were a good buy for me. When the doorbell rang and I found this package on my doorstep, I was a bit concerned, since the box had clearly not fared well in transport. As you may see, it looked as though a large person had sat on it. I took pictures of the box before opening it in case I had to make a claim for damages. Fortunately, that was not the case, as the coaches were in their original Farish boxes inside the shipping box, with a good amount of bubble wrap and screwed up paper around to pad them, so despite the shipping box being badly crushed, the coach boxes were okay. The Marsh milk churns came in a separate shipment in the same day's post. I'll deal with them in a future video. These coaches were sold as new and appeared to be so, coming in their original boxes with the little extra parts bags still intact and no apparent wear or damage. For a change, it seems that a lot of things I bought recently have required repair before getting onto the layout. These coaches didn't require any repair, and the only assembly might have been in respect of either closing off the corridor connectors. They do come with little I don't know what, you're not exactly doors, little pieces to close off the corridor openings, or I could have fitted corridor connectors between the coaches, but I decided to leave anything in that respect until later. I've tried the cardboard bellows corridor connectors with current production Farish Stanier coaches before, with little success. The coaches just didn't seem to be able to run with the bellows connectors without derailing. So I railed these coaches up just as they came, behind the Farish Jubilee Trafalgar, which I just fitted with new nameplates from Fox Transfers. These coaches were all LMS Stanier mainline corridor stock. This first one is a corridor third, seen from the corridor side here. The second coach is a composite, i.e. a mixed first and third class. And the third one is a break third, so the three of them together make quite a sensible small train. Although in some ways the big four railway companies, LMS, LNER, GWR and SR, might loom large in the past to we British railway enthusiasts, really they were little more than a flash in the pan historically. They came into being as a result of the Railways Act of 1921 in January 1923, and they only really had free rein to operate independently until war measures took over in 1939. Then after the war they barely tried to recover for a couple of years before disappearing to be replaced by British Railways upon nationalisation in 1948. So the real heyday of the Big Four only lasted 17 years. They'd barely really got themselves sorted out and stabilised after amalgamation before events overtook them again. And this was perhaps especially true of the LMS, the largest of them and probably the most challenged in terms of amalgamation issues. The LMS Stanier coaches came into being in the 1930s. They're named for William Stanier, later Sir William, who was chief mechanical engineer of the LMS from 1932 on. Stanier worked with the Ministry of Supply during the war and retired in 1944, so he only had 8 years really as CME of the LMS, but he was very influential during those years, significantly changing many aspects of LMS operations and rolling stock, and leaving behind much that would persist long into BR days. The Stanier coaches are a case in point. The term is applied generally to all of the flat-sided LMS coaching stock introduced during Stanier's tenure in the 30s. I still think of these coaches as essentially modern, since when I travelled on British Railways in my own youth in the UK, it was in coaches like these, either in actual ex-LMS Stanier coaches, many of which continued in BR service well into the 1960s, or in BR Mark I coaches which were closely based on the LMS Stanier designs. Here the new coaches are coming through under the viaduct behind the Trafalgar. Really, those new nameplates on the Trafalgar are barely visible. Well, I guess you can see them, and they give a generally fairly tidy appearance from a distance, but you'd need better eyesight than mine to actually read them. I need a magnifying glass. And here's the train pulling into Colville Station. Now, let's just have a little look at some running video of this train. So here we are looking down to the west end of the layout. That's the Fly Zone Beaver, that big plane at the end there. You can see that flying in earlier videos on this channel. I'll put a link up in the top right corner. And the train's come down over the viaduct, and it's going to go down the incline, the gradient, curving gradient here behind the hill. Loop back down under the viaduct. That's about the best I can do with putting that viaduct together. That's the Atlas footbridge there, really more an American prototype footbridge, but I don't think it looks too badly out of place. Past the Ratio cattle dock, bits of various part of Manor Farm, the barn there, and Graham Farish Cottage. Round behind the tunnel. It's a Ratio plastic kit signal box there. Settle and Carlisle building there from Metcalfe on the Bilston Holt station, also a Metcalfe platform. These are the Metcalfe, the current Metcalfe terraced houses. Both the current set and an older set. Over the slightly odd level crossing there by the tunnel and down through Colville Station itself. Didn't stop in the station in this case, and there's the Trafalgar. You can't see, well, you can see the nameplates are there, but you're never going to read them while it's going. There's the corner shop in the ground there. The Metcalfe corner shop was built fairly recently, and climbing up the inclined curved track at the west end round the yard. It's the view across the yard, Cato turntable and the engine sheds, Graham Farish Scenecraft, coaling tower and ash plant. And then we're coming back from the west end. I don't have any backdrop of the west end because that's where I walk past. I don't quite know how I masked that, so I'm afraid you can see the Beaver plane there.